Hey guys, this is A-Bomb for noEHinTEAM, your number one source for awesome. Thanks for checking things out. Welcome to Topic Tuesday, where we talk about just about anything except the gameplay. That said, this is Interchange. It's free for all. I hope you enjoy it, but it'll just be in the background. I could have talked about a lot of different things this week and kept on debating and kept coming back to something that has been headline news this past week in the US specifically, but basically worldwide. And that has to do with the shooting in Colorado. I can't ignore it. And I've actually probably redone this segment 5 or 6 times because I want to get it right. And quite simply, it's difficult. It's a hard subject to broach. And the first thing I want to say about it is that it's tragic. It's horrible, and it may sound cliche, but our thoughts and prayers really do extend out to the people affected by it, the victims. And if there's any small, minuscule chance that the tiny little audience that will watch this video, if any of you are personally affected by the tragedy, our condolences go out to you, and we really, hope and trust that you have a good support system to help you get through it. I frankly couldn't imagine going through it myself. So I want to talk a little bit about gun control in the US and in Canada and how it differs and some of the results of those differences. In Canada, we share a lot of cultural similarities with the US, a lot of, the same moral attitudes and the same ideas about how the world should work. But there are also some differences, and despite Canada's little brother complex, sometimes Big Brother can learn from Little Brother. If you look at some of the gun statistics over I'm going to focus mostly on just the last decade, because that's frankly the most accurate as far as I'm concerned data, and also, shows the cultural temperature and the views towards guns at this stage in time, which have really shifted dramatically over the last 40-50 years, especially in the US. There used to be a lot more support for stricter gun laws, especially if you get way back, say to about 1960. The vast majority of Americans believed that only police officers and other say positions of authority should carry handguns, and that the general population should not. But through the power of the gun lobby, the endless resources and propaganda from organizations like the NRA, those attitudes have shifted. It's hard. Again, this is just my opinion. You may think that guns are fantastic and that anyone should be able to have them, but the numbers don't bear out the argument from the gun lobby. In Canada, we have historically had stricter gun laws, and we've also historically had far lower violent crime rates than the U.S., but our ownership is actually quite similar. And I'm speaking in terms of legally, acquired, registered, and licensed weapons here. Illegal weapons, that's a whole nother ball game, but the fact that there's so much more availability of guns in the U.S. just lends itself to negative consequences in regards to illegal ownership, illegal uses, and violent uses. In Canada, ownership tends to be in the 30 to 35% range over the last decade plus, which is a fairly significant number, and it's actually not that much lower than the U.S. In the U.S., that same measure of ownership per household is in the 35 to 45% range. So it varies a little bit more from year to year, but it's not much more than Canada. We'll call it say 5 to 7% more on average per year, but it's pretty close. We can call it a third. But beyond that, the numbers start to really get away in the U.S. That's ownership per household. But if you look at the number of weapons per person in the States, it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. There are approximately 90 firearms per 100 Americans. And in Canada, there's about 30 firearms per 100 Canadians. So it's triple, which is fairly significant. Now, there are certain benefits that get touted by the gun lobby that, there's certain crimes that are reduced because of the fear of thieves and whatnot, that a homeowner could have a weapon on hand. And it's true that it does make a difference. In Canada, we actually have a 30% higher break-in rate and a 30% higher auto theft rate. So, those are two fairly significant crimes. But even with that increase in that type of crime, our homicide rate is a third what the U.S. is. And on top of that, in the U.S., you're looking at more opportunity for violence and injury. Even though Canada has a higher incidence of break-ins and auto theft, the U.S. actually has a higher rate of theft in general. And 40% of robberies in the U.S. involve firearms, whereas only 15% of robberies in Canada involve firearms. So you're looking at a huge difference. That's a 25% difference, and actually it's about triple. And that just lends itself to less deadly consequences in high stress scenarios where, frankly, we live in a broken society. Robberies and other illegal activity are going to happen. But if we can reduce the amount of opportunity that there is for violent repercussions, the better off everyone will be. One argument that's been spouted off for as long as I've been alive, and probably well before that, is that guns don't kill people, people kill people. And I 100% agree. Firearms in the hands of responsible, law-abiding citizens aren't a danger to just about anybody, but unfortunately, the lesser controls and the higher availability of weapons just lends itself to weapons in the wrong hands. And simply, in response to guns don't kill people, people kill people, people can't kill with guns if they don't have them in their hands. This video is I could go on at length, and frankly the clip isn't long enough for this whole subject, but I encourage you, as a ton of viewers are going to be from the US, and some are going to be from Canada as well, but if you're in the US and you have a certain view of firearms and their place in society, rethink it. I'm not saying you're wrong, and you may rethink it and come to the exact same conclusion that you're at now, but it's certainly time for attitudes to shift and change. And I'll just, one final note here. I'm not, again, I may have mentioned it, but we're, in Canada, this is not a glass house. We're not throwing stones from it. The government of our day, the Conservative Party of Canada, is unfortunately, they've been really, pulling back on some of the gun controls that were in place until recently. I frankly think it's a mistake. I know a lot of other people do. And I really hope that at some point both of our countries can kind of get things figured out and minimize this issue so that we can avoid tragedies like the one that happened in Colorado last week. Nothing can be done to keep us safe all the time because, as I mentioned earlier, we have a broken society, and there's always going to be negative things that happen, even on a massive scale. But if we can minimize the availability and the ability for people that have gone over the edge, for lack of a better phrase, we'll all be better off for it. Anyways, guys, leave your thoughts, leave your comments. If you disagree on every level, let me know. And Topic Tuesday is all about a conversation, so let's try to make it a good one. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next video. Hey guys, as always, thank you so much for watching the video. If you missed it, there's last week's Topic Tuesday for Making Up. Keep your eyes open for next week's episode. And on the right-hand side there, I talk about how the currency system didn't really work in Black Ops and what we'd like to see in Black Ops 2. And further to Black Ops 2, we're starting a series on Friday called Black Friday, and we're going to count down weekly all the way to the release of Black Ops 2. All right, guys, have yourself a great week.